be afraid. Do not be afraid. A tutti I popoli, a tutta la terra, la pace sia con voi.
Hey everybody! Calm down.
Yeah, this is too much for us. This is a lot of
Who
cheering,
gave us
actually.
this?
It's not stopping.
Guys, please.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Homeward by Big Apple Catholic. I'm Mariana, and I don't have a proper intro that ever introduces Katie in the right way.
Here
But
I am.
welcome back.
Thanks, girl. Good to be here.
That was our new sound effects that we dreamed of, and now we have. You want to hear another one?
Oh. Homeward.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Whoa, okay,
That's
that's
rude.
not what we want. We can also upload sound effects.
Into the episode?
Yeah. What if we did JP2's Be Not Afraid? And I just played it every 5 seconds.
So we can make our own.
Yeah.
This is dangerous.
This is very dangerous.
We're comedians now.
Okay, one more. Hold on.
The genuine fear in your eyes when that played.
That's crazy. How about this one? Oh,
Okay,
that's good.
I would
Okay,
use that a lot.
That's good. You know, the Jonas Brothers also have a new podcast. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, well, they have a little soundboard, and Joe is in charge of the soundboard. And I very much feel like Joe right now.
Yes.
So there's also music. Can I play the music?
Yes, please.
Hey, turn up. Love Homeward. Come on. New branding, everybody.
Yeah, scratch what you wrote. This is our new intro song.
That's enough of that. That's crazy.
Wow.
That's a different vibe.
Wow. We needed that though. I think we especially needed the but-umts on the episode with Bill. I feel like we needed to drop that multiple times.
We did get feedback that you can't hear us laughing.
Yes.
We did laugh that whole episode.
We were laughing the whole time.
We were cracking up. Well, we're back with sound effects, just the two of us. And we got to do a little recap. Well, how about we give how about we give the people a little State of the Union? I'll share where we are, what's happening in our life this summer, which is exciting, I think, for people to hear. And then maybe we can just mention the last couple episodes because, whoa, there's a lot.
Yeah.
It was rich.
Perfect.
Well, Katie and I are currently in person, which is exciting. And I guess we're going to be in person for the next several episodes. And we are in the Hudson Valley in technically downstate New York, but this is former New Yorker talking, so upstate New York. We are in the Hudson Valley at the generosity of a friend of ours that has been insanely good to us. And yeah, we're spending the summer up here. I keep mumbling or stuttering when I'm nervous, so you all make me very nervous. And we neither of us have any responsibilities other than to wander and take care of ourselves. So it's kind of a luxury. If I was hearing this back, I would be very envious. And I can't believe that we get to do this, but that's what we're doing. So you just got here though a couple days ago. So I've been here a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You just got here.
I just got here.
How you feeling?
I am overwhelmed in the best way. Just very humbled. Yeah, by the chance just to be here and to rest together. And it feels like the fruition of everything we would have wanted, but would have never been able to name, I think. Just, I mean, honestly, I love it up here. I love the South because my family's there. But it has been really beautiful. And I recently was able to put into words, or maybe somebody told me, I don't know, that just adventuring or exploring new places is a form of leisure. And I think I was able to realize that is one, like I've always loved to travel, and I think that's one of my favorite ways to leisure is to be in a new city, to explore, the little towns and see what these people have created and, made beautiful. So that's been super restful, even just seeing their creativity, but also, having an outlet just to rest and be for us is kind of insane. So very, very grateful.
It's kind of annoying when you hear, like, the perfect story where you're, like, you're in the pits and then this, like, miraculous thing comes up and you're like, "That never happens to me." And now it happened to us and
Yeah.
we're like, "That's kind of annoying."
Can't say that anymore.
Yeah, we
Stop
can't be.
talking.
So for anyone out there annoyed, we understand. We understand the luxury of this, that it's not normal or merited by any means,
Yep.
but we were
Yes.
in the pits for a couple of years, so it's a little merited. It's a
Yep.
little merited.
Yeah.
No, it'll be great, and I think, yeah, I think it's the rest we've been needing for a long time,
Yes.
and we're both able to do this because we're in very hard transition seasons,
Mhm.
which means we can be here. Um, but I'm excited. I guess this will give people a context for when we're recording, but the Knicks are in the finals tonight, and we're in New York State, so we're gonna try to find a pub, and you know us, big
Knicks
Knicks
fans,
fans.
let's go. This is the game we've been waiting for.
Who's our mascot?
The Knicks. I don't
D
know.
well, I guess does I was gonna say the NFL. Wow.
Oh,
All
no.
my insecurities of sounding like a ditz on this podcast
Yeah,
just confirmed.
it's okay, me too. We
Um,
know other stuff.
Ask Frodo, where our producer, do they have mascots? Yeah, like the
So,
Lakers don't have a
actually, does
mascot?
this make you feel better? The New York Knicks does not have an official mascot.
Okay, thank you.
They're one of only 4 teams without one. So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Actually, it does make me feel
maybe
better.
that's why we didn't know.
Because they don't
It
have
doesn't
one.
exist.
It's so true. Well, we're gonna go tonight past my bedtime, past our bedtime. So we're getting crazy, everybody. Watch out. Anyway, we've had a great time, and we were saying, it's less like a retreat and more like rehab. So
Yes,
we're in rehab right now,
yes.
everybody.
But you also told me yesterday that I could be the resident baker and gardener, and I think my heart melted, and I just figured out what my dream is. I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'm gonna do this forever."
Here we go.
Ugh.
Okay, yesterday, and then we'll get into last week's episode, but please, share with everybody the experience of waking up here on your first morning.
Oh my gosh.
What happened?
So, obviously, I I arose joyfully, but I was sleepy because of the trek. So, I'm still cozy.
Because we were caught in a storm.
Oh, yeah, don't worry about that.
Sorry, that
Caught
was
in a
crazy.
storm, so we did arrive later than anticipated. So cozy, just waking up. Wow, where am I? And then I hear, "Katie, are you awake?" from up the stairs. And promptly, I say, "Yes, I'm awake." And Mariana says, "There's a baby deer outside." I felt like I was 7 years old and someone just told me, "Santa came," like, darted, threw on a sweatshirt, up the steps, still in my PJs, and creeping out on the back porch, only to find the most perfect baby deer curled up in the grass. Like, I think if nothing else happened the rest of the time,
Mm.
I'd be riding on a high.
It was and that was your first time seeing everything in the light because we got here so
Yes,
late.
yes, and a
Wow.
precious little gift, just curled up. Yeah, I had no words. It was one of those things where you're given a gift that you're like, I would have never known how to ask for that." But that
Mm.
said everything I needed it to. I don't even know what that means, but I know that that baby deer was all I needed. And so we got to discuss, how sometimes a baby deer will just be curled up because the mom will leave it there for a little while.
Tragic. I can't.
But, you know, that's just what they do. But they leave them in a safe place, usually. Sometimes people will find them sitting in the middle of the road because they think you can't really
All
see them.
the same.
Well, no, then they just protect them, and they're
Uh-huh.
speckled, so they look like, the sun coming through the trees, so they're camouflaged. That little deer was never safer. We would have fought
You're right.
anything coming.
Yeah,
So,
I've never felt
honestly,
more protective over something in my life.
yes, yes. So, we are so grateful. This is the most perfect
Mm.
place for us to be.
And then mom came back last night, right? We
Yeah,
were
midday.
midday? I think it was at night.
Oh, did come back. Sorry, I thought you
Yes.
meant to
Yes,
pick up
yes.
her baby from school.
That's right, she did come, but then she came back with
Yes,
the baby last night.
yes.
So this family home we're at, the chosen ones,
The chosen
clearly.
ones.
There's something.
Yes. Were they eating all the trees? We're not sure.
Yeah.
But they were still here.
There I was watering the trees this morning, and it was a little more chewed up than
Yeah.
usual. So
Wasn't us.
yeah, yeah, it wasn't us. What a treat. Okay, I hope we were making you all jealous. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Um, we'll see what happens here.
Yes.
I already feel myself, I think, in a lot of ways again,
Mhm.
which is always a nice thing. It's, like, different to feel at peace and rested. It's another thing to feel like yourself.
Yes.
And, yeah, I'm here for that,
Yeah.
you know?
Just need some space sometimes.
That's what they say.
That's
That's
what
what
they
reform
say.
says. That's one of their pillars.
Okay.
Space. Shout out Reform on this.
Come on.
Check them out.
They know what they're doing.
Not sponsored. Okay, we're 12 minutes in, and we're being very leisurely. But I did wanna talk about, maybe we'll spend a couple minutes talking about the last couple episodes
Oh,
and
yeah.
just naming what an unbelievable rich experience that was, almost too rich. Like, I love fudge, I can only take a little bite at a time. So, we just wanted to give you very rich fudge at the beginning, but because we're going to be returning to that over and over again, from now on, it'll be mostly just the 2 of us, so sorry if you love them and you want them back, but, um, anyway, I loved it, it was such a treat for us. We walked away from our episode, Dr. Maple, we couldn't move. We were like, "We have to just lay on the ground for hours," and I think we did.
Yes.
And then the one with Bill, I think we left, like, bouncing off the walls, so it was such a fun, um, like, double portion of both, but I think we could do a whole episode just debriefing those, but I'm
Totally.
curious to hear
Totally.
your thoughts.
Yeah, I think we were just so filled up both times. It felt like a dream come true for us to have these kinds of conversations with people who have been having these conversations and who also are incredibly wise and beautiful and good. Um, so it's I don't know, I think one of my favorite experiences has been just seeing the people I love meet these people who I also love and just be able to see the goodness in them and how much they are offering to the world and to us. Yeah, I think both of us felt like, okay, we hope so many people listen to these, but if not, we have been infinitely blessed and we will never forget that experience. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think we'll be simmering in them for a long time.
Forever,
And it was
truly.
just fun.
I hope that came through. We
Yes,
were having the time of our
the
life.
time of our life.
I loved it.
Yes, I loved it too.
We hope you all liked it. Let us know? Question
Let
mark.
us
No,
know.
people did let us know, actually. I
Yeah, you're right. Let us know again.
Yeah, tell us again. No, we got a lot of good feedback of, the beauty one, I think people really resonated with,
Mhm,
and we're given a lot of permission
mhm,
that beauty is the answer to the question.
hmm.
And then you were telling me about somebody that you care for a lot that it just opened them up to wonder for the first time in a long time. And one actually common feedback that I heard from both of them was people saying like, "I forgot about this experience as a kid. I forgot about," and I've just been thinking about it again. You know, it hasn't been
Yeah,
like and now my life is changed.
Yeah.
But remembering. And that's been, I think, maybe like the main goal with both of
Yes.
them. You know?
And I feel like we've had this conversation before, but it's almost like our entire journey is just remembering. It's just all remembering, and if all this does is, yeah, bring up memories or give people the language to know, what they need to ground themselves in and to
Yeah.
keep coming back to, because it's like some of the stuff we talked about, it's like, yeah, we knew that, but we needed to hear that again.
Yep.
We needed to hear it over and over again, and yeah, I think hopefully it's something people continue to come back to as well.
Mm. I love it. I'm reading, there's a book in front of us called The Shattering of Loneliness by Bishop Eric Varden. The whole thing is about remembering. Each chapter, remember. So, well, to segue about richness and people that we love and who have formed us in some way, shape, or form, we thought this was the perfect time to talk about one of our favorite people, two of our favorite people, really, for a couple of reasons. One, again, at the outset of this project, really naming priorities for us and how we see the world. But two, by the time that this episode launches in a few days, we'll be coming up on the anniversary of her death. And so, as you can tell by the title, we are going to be talking about servant of God, Chiara Corbella Petrillo. And I'm dying to hear from you what, how you even came across her. But she's been someone for me that really has been primal in helping me navigate the trials of my life of the last several years.
Mm.
She's someone I hung on to for dear life in a particularly difficult trial. And, um, when people say they're like close to a saint, I think maybe sometimes I was maybe faking it a little bit, that I felt close to them. I like admired them, but I didn't feel close to them. But I feel very close to Chiara, and her experience. And so I had written her off for a long time, and I had seen her book, and I was like, not another like overly pious woman, count me out. And by the grace of God, I read her book in the summer of 2023 and has changed me forever and continues to form me. I continue to find peace in her story, in her and Enrico's story. Um, and so, yeah, I'm so glad that I was so wrong. I'm so glad because I can't imagine having lived a lot of challenging things that I've lived through in recent years without her witness or without Enrico's witness. So, before I get into her life story, we'll share for people her life story. But how did you come across her? And I
Yeah.
want to know.
Okay, that's so funny. I did not realize how similar our experiences were
Mm.
because I had heard of her as well. And I'm trying to remember if this was before or after, but at one point, um, I just remember looking at all these pictures of saints and I was like, I wonder what their stories were. And I'm like going through and it's like cancer, cancer, something else horrible, cancer. And I'm like, this is terrifying. I was also potentially having some anxiety issues. So maybe that made it worse.
Real.
But
Real talk.
that was very scary. And I was like, is this just what is going to happen to everyone pursuing the Lord? So I got very discouraged. And I knew that was a part of her story. And I just was not in a place to understand the possibility of beauty that her life would reflect to me. I couldn't fathom how something like that could be so beautifully redeemed.
Mm.
And I think it was you who kept saying, "You need to read this. You need to read this." And I was like, "I don't think she understands who I am. I don't think I could handle that right now." And then I remember, I think I had another friend as well, yeah, who had been encouraging me to read it. And finally, I don't know exactly what happened, but it was recently, I think after I had gotten engaged, um, and I guess I was just like, "Okay, fine." I was probably in a hard place, and yeah, I have no words for the gift that she has been to me And in similar way for you, like, I don't know what I would have done if her example had not been reflected so beautifully through her book. Um, and and it oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I had already read it. Absolutely in love with it. Or okay, sorry, this story is getting blurry. But I was also reading it with my book club, so maybe that's how I read it for the first time. Long story
That's
short,
right, yeah.
yes, maybe that was it. We were gonna read it for our book club, and I was like, "Okay, fine." And maybe oh, no. Yes, that's how I got to read it,
Mm.
because otherwise I wasn't going to. So it was my friend who was encouraging me to read it. We get to this chapter. It's like, what, a month or 2 out from my wedding day, only to find out that they got married on the same day. And I'm
Yes.
like, she's been looking for me.
Mm.
Well, she's just been seeking me out because she knew how much I needed her, and a deep yeah, like, I guess I'm kinda taking this forever. Sorry, I should have thought through how I figured out,
Please, no.
her life, but I remember, um, one of my, like, biggest fears pre-getting married, and this is a very just, um, melancholic way to look at marriage, but I'm just thinking to myself and also to Britain, like, "You're gonna die one day. Why? Why are we even getting married? Like, this is just
Yeah.
going to tear me apart. This is actually going to crush me at some point." Like, entering into this is just infallible or sorry, not infallible, inevitable crushing, and that was terrifying, and
Mhm.
reading in the book and that was Enrico's greatest fear, and his greatest fear happened, and the end is not what I thought it would be. Like, yeah, and maybe we'll talk more about, like, the intro of the book, but, you know, they just talk about, like, what you're seeing here. You could see this as the most depressing possible path for a married couple to have to go through,
Mm.
or, like, just below the surface is the most magnificent and beautiful life and what we are all striving to live.
Mm.
And it's kinda one of those things where you can run around your greatest fears, but until you kinda confront them face to face,
Yeah.
you're never gonna find the freedom, and so to read their story, I think was everything I needed before getting married, because that was like, "Okay." So if my greatest fears happen, the possibility is the greatest joy. It's yeah,
Mm.
basically, we just want you to read the book, but we are also happy to recount and talk with you because it has changed her story, and their relationship has changed our lives.
Mm.
Yeah.
I remember when you first shared about that being his biggest fear too. That is a very vivid memory to me in our friendship of
Yeah.
making that connection, and for him to be like, "You know, and I'm okay, and I still suffer as a widow like
Yeah.
every other widow.
Yes.
That does not go away, but I'm okay."
The video.
The video.
That
Guys,
destroyed me. When
it's
you
on my
showed me
website,
that oh, yes, it is. Everybody go to Big Apple Catholic.
bigapplecatholic.com. You're all welcome, okay?
It is everything you need to hear every day of your life.
And then some.
Yep.
I wish we could play it on here.
I thought about that actually before we started.
Ah,
We can play sound effects.
guys, yeah, where's the let's see if there's a boo button. Um, is there? No,
We'll make
just
one. Oh.
sad. Okay, well. No, I've posted it, so many times, that video. I guess let me give some context for people. There's a book, A Witness to Joy. This is the book we're talking about. It's the only approved book, um, about Chiara, so it's written by her best friends who journeyed with her. So this is the book that we're talking about. It's not like some outside party, and she actually knew they were writing this book because she was dying, which you'll hear about in a little bit. And it's her story through their lens and Enrico's lens. There's a video that Enrico did that I found in these deep dives because I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with their story. And I've just shared it with people, and it moves people on such a molecular level. And so whenever I share it on Instagram, because I share it frequently, the reaction is, wild of people being so moved. And we'll talk about it more, but it's, I think, his witness of um, what their friend Angelo calls them living and suffering without anesthetizing. Dr. Angelo, who was their doctor, describes Chiara and Enrico at their second child's funeral, which again we'll hear about. And he was like, "Why are they joyful at this funeral?" And then he recounts, Angelo, a moment where he just saw them collapse in tears. And he said the line, like, "These people are not anesthetizing their pain with religion, but there's something deep down." And Angelo says, "What is that? And how do I get that?" And I think that covers her story. And I think that's why you and I are so obsessed with them, because they are not anesthetizing their pain. When you read the book, when you hear Enrico speak now as a widow, the pain is there. It's alive. It's raw. There's this mysterious joy that they talk about, St. Francis's mysterious joy of grace in the moment. Um, but it's not this, again, overly pious blanket of um, fabricated joy that I think you can taste. It's the real joy of heaven being real. So, um, that's our intro.
Did we sell you yet?
That is, why we love them,
Yeah.
I think. For those that are not familiar with the story, I'm gonna just share a little bit, if that's okay, about Chiara Corbella Petrillo and her story. So, also for context, I pulled a lot of this straight from their website, their official website, just so that it's accurate. But so Chiara was born January 9th, 1984 to Roberto Corbella and Maria Anselma Rusiconi. And Chiara was one of two sisters. She was the youngest, and her sister is named Elisa. And from all of their accounts and Enrico's accounts, who she would later meet, there was nothing really remarkable about her. They grew up very Catholic. They grew up in a charismatic community. But yeah, she was so normal. And this is a key part to her story. So fast forward several years, Chiara also was born in Rome. I forgot to mention that. She's from Italy. She was born in Rome. And in the summer of 2002, when Chiara was 18, her and her family made a trip to Medjugorje. And there on August 2nd, she met Enrico Petrillo. And maybe we'll post a link to him sharing that story, because the way he shares it is so epic and sweet. And he was, significantly enough older than her, and she was teasing him about it, and she sat at the only open spot in front of him at that cafeteria, and that's how they met. But he's Italian and charming, so it's a lot more exciting when he shares it. But so they dated on and off for 6 years, which is a long time. And at the end of her life, Chiara actually recounts that this was the most painful time of her life. And this is a direct quote. She says, "So much so was this painful. She even would later speak of this experience as the part of her life that was the most difficult for her to live, even more difficult than the sickness that would eventually cause her to die." Chiara finally married Enrico September 21st, 2008, somebody else's wedding anniversary in front of me. And the two wed in Assisi, which I actually didn't know until I was reading this back. Um, and after their honeymoon, Chiara found that she was pregnant with their first child, Maria Grazia Letizia. But unfortunately, Maria Grazia Letizia would soon be diagnosed with a condition that caused her to not have her brain, or at least a large portion of her brain. So Maria Grazia Letizia would not survive more than a few hours after her birth. And they knew this going into it, decided to carry her full to term. And on June 10th, 2009, Chiara gave birth to their first daughter, and Maria Grazia Letizia died within a half hour of her birth. Here's a quote from, again, their website on this funeral. It says, "Her funeral was lived in the spirit of the same peace that accompanied the months of pregnancy, and it touched many of the people present who received the grace of experiencing a taste of heaven." I think that taste of heaven is going to be key here. Okay, moving forward just a little bit. So that's already kind of tragic enough. But a few months later, Chiara found herself once again pregnant, this time with Davide Giovanni. But this time, however, Davide was diagnosed with severe malformations of his organs and was missing his legs. And he too would not survive long after birth. And so on June 24th, 2010, Davide passed away in the arms of his parents just an hour after his birth. Thankfully, both children were able to receive the sacrament of baptism before their passing. During this time, I think many people were saying that there might be some sort of genetic problem here, and so they underwent all this testing only to find that both of the diagnoses they had nothing to do with each other. So it was this really interesting situation that, yeah, the pathologies didn't suggest that there was something necessarily wrong with Chiara or Enrico, that it was just the way that things turned out. And so they got then pregnant with their third child now, Francesco, and he was completely healthy. However, a week after discovering that she was pregnant, Chiara felt something on her tongue and suspecting that it might be a tumor. And it was. Chiara went a massive surgery to remove the mass on her tongue, which she describes in detail in her book and was massively, massively painful for her, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But for the second phase of the treatment, she would actually have to wait until Francesco was born. The tumor, which Chiara later called the dragon, was in fact confirmed to be cancerous. During this time, she chose to delay surgery in order to protect the baby that she was carrying in her womb, and finding doctors that would give her the things she needed in order to carry Francesco to term, despite many people telling her to risk harming Francesco's life. Shortly after Francesco's birth, it was very clear that Chiara's cancer was progressing. So Chiara was soon after diagnosed with terminal cancer. And on June 13th at noon in 2012, after she said her goodbyes to her family and telling everyone that she loved them, Chiara passed into eternal life. Enrico remains in Rome, and Francesco is now a teenager. So that's the kind of short and brief outline of Chiara's story, and I think we want to give you the detail just so you get an understanding for the life that she lived and what they suffered, so that when we talk about her, I think, and what inspired us and what moves us, we don't forget the real kind of the rawness of what they. I would love to hear from you. Hearing all of that again, reading her book, what moves you the most and what has impacted you the most given this story of hers?
Yeah. There's a quote I want to read, but first touching on, and you mentioned this kind of as you were going through it, but just how normal they were. And, there's pictures of them at the beach, and, like, you can see her wedding photos, and I think so
She's in
many
a bikini.
saints. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
my favorite part.
totally, she's just living her little life, but, knowing there's so many saints who feel, they're just holy people who feel kind of far away from the life that we are living, and I think there was something so grounding about just the language of the book that they wrote it so beautifully, and that it's also really amazing because it's, a couple who they became friends with, who got married, like, a month after they got married, who then walked with them through the entire journey. So I can't picture a better, choice for who to write the book, which is stunning. I mean, I think one of them was a journalist, so, like, they have this
That's
gift,
right. Yeah.
but, so the book was just beautiful, but yeah, how normal she was. And yeah, let me read. This is just from the introduction, and I think this kind of captures well, like, what is so stunning about it. Um, okay, it just at the beginning it says, "Who is Chiara? Why?"
This is from Enrico?
No, this is from them, the
Oh, wow.
couple.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, okay.
Who is Chiara? Why is there so much attention surrounding her? What has she done? At first sight, this is the dramatic story of a mother who died of a tumor, leaving her son and her husband alone. Perhaps it is a story similar to many others, but something here does not square. Everything in this story was lived in joy, and it became life for many others. And I think it's helpful. I found it so helpful for them to name from the very beginning, like this exact situation has probably happened before. People have probably been crushed by the weight of it. So what is different about them? And so much of it is their faith and the way that they lived their life, especially in the spirit of Saint Francis, that the opposite of love is possession. So they received everything, and I'm sure we'll read it later, but, that even just the line, "God never takes away anything from you." Like, they didn't just say this, and they didn't just, um yeah, like you said, they're not just overly pious, like, and so much of the book too, she she's suffering and she's angry and she's wrestling with things like, why can't I breastfeed my child, who I just gave birth to, and but because of the treatment and everything, and you think about all of the minute sufferings that they just kept going, and but then she'll also talk about, we were talking about this before we started, like, she would get mad if people thought, there was something unique or crazy or special about her. She would say, "No, I have just been faithful and said yes at every step, and I've been given the grace to do that." And so, I think it feels like when we kind of picture our greatest fears in life or these horrible things that could happen to us, I don't know why the image I'm getting is it's like they, like, diced it all up and then, like, handed it to us, and it's like, "No, this is it. It's just bit by bit." It's not because of who God is and because of the love that we're capable of, this is possible for you to come out, and because of the resurrection, this is possible for you to come out of even more glorious than you entered into it. And yeah, I think they're just a perfect example of how to do that. What do you think?
I'm having several thoughts here about Enrico because I was just telling Katie, I love Chiara. I love Enrico just as much, but I think because he's on it still, like he is still every day walking the journey. And I'm thinking of two things. The one is in some interview he did, which are far and few between, and they're all in Italian, except like one. Um, he said people ask him, what was the secret? What was so special about Chiara? And he says nothing. And he says it's Chiara semplicemente era una figlia, which I think I just botched the Italian, but
Sounded good.
thank you. She was simply a daughter.
Mhm.
That not only the witness of Chiara, but the way that Enrico and her family have really chosen to be earnest, and that there was nothing extraordinary about her other than she lived her baptismal grace. And he's very adamant. In fact, there's a thing on the website. It's a whole, he doesn't speak very often, but he posted it on there, and it's about what she didn't say. And he says, let me pull it up here. He says, "Dear friends, we're hearing and reading many articles, etc., about things that Chiara never said, romantic words portraying her as a fearless woman with supernatural strength. Such illusions are not good for any of us who are still on the journey toward holiness. On the contrary, it creates a distance between us and the Lord, who, as the saints teach us, is close to us and cares for us. Saints are indeed men and women who felt loved by the Lord and who discovered a Father with whom everything is possible. Placing their trust in Him, they understood that fear never tells the truth. Let's ask the Lord to be real witnesses of truth." The words Chiara actually said are reported in the book and on this website, the official resources anyone can refer to. I love, she was not a fearless woman with supernatural strength. She wasn't. And they're so adamant about sharing that. And Enrico is not a fearless man with supernatural strength. Someone asked him, what's your relationship with Chiara now? She's in heaven. And he very kindly, but very matter of fact, said, she's dead. I don't have a relationship with her. I know that she prays for us, but there's no relation. I am a widow. And I think he says, Chiara truly died. And it was so refreshing. Like, yes, she is dead. And he has this immense faith. They will be reunited again. And he says this in the book, but that she's with her eternal bridegroom. And that's not some overly pious, sweet, sentimentality kind of faith. That sentimentality, yeah, it'll run you a mile or two, but you cannot finish the marathon. And he is steady and faithful as she was at the point of her death, not out of sentimentality, but truth. And it's the truth they proclaim. They have a phrase that they like to talk about a lot, which is born to never die. That all of us, every single one of us, is born for eternity. It's a matter of where we spend it. Not a single soul dies. We either spend it in eternal communion with God or outside of it. And for him to continue to live in that peace, again, with the immense ache and pains, and he's very real. Francesco doesn't have a mom, but he says, but God's going to fill that hole. And I don't know how, and I don't know when, but he will. Of course he misses his mom. And so that's what was coming to mind when you were speaking, and the relief. Oh my gosh, I think that's why I love them. The relief of, like, I don't have to fake it. I don't have to be overly sentimental about things. I can actually just say, like, you know what? This situation does suck. You know what? I do fear my parents dying.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I do fear tragedy occurring. I fear everything. I fear it all. And I want to have their faith that God is my father and that no matter what happens on this earth, we're going home, which is the point of this podcast, which is why we love her.
And scene.
There's a button for this. You ready? Thank you.
That was perfect. Okay, you're making me think of this quote I want to read, and then I want to hear your thoughts because I was crying over my blueberries this morning while I was reading this. This is also in the intro that they wrote. If miracle is understood as a physical recovery, then this book contains no miracles. There are no cures. The miracle we narrate is another. It is a disarming joy, simple and pure, a treasure to discover. It is the perfect joy of Saint Francis of Assisi, a mysterious joy, as Enrico would say, that changes evil into good, that opens your heart and your horizons. To discover that you are loved is the center of all existence. And when we are filled with this total and delirious love, little by little, we grow and love in turn. That gradualness in our journeys is a sign of the infinite tenderness of God. There's more, but I'm stopping there. Like, there's something refreshing. Not that we cannot hope and pray for miracles, but it's kind of David. Daniel, like, in scripture, like, even if God does not act in the way that I think he should or that I wish he would, that does not mean he's not here. That's never been the question, And I think I love what you're saying because, yeah, we've been talking about this for hours, that we're terrified all the time. If you can relate, I think you're also a human being. Like, we are terrified of so many things. And yeah, the witness of someone, of two people who probably were also terrified, who names like, his greatest fear happened. That's all of our greatest fears, is that our greatest fear would take place. And we can't fathom. I can't even imagine, like, the times I've even just for a second allowed myself to think about losing my spouse, the most horrifying thought.
Yeah.
Absolutely the most horrifying thought, and it should be. Like, there's no yeah, like you said, over pious, like, well, if that's how it should go. No, that should rip my heart out. But, yeah, like, it's like it was saying, that mysterious, joy and the possibility of evil turning to good, but it happens from deep within. It's not, kind of the JP2, like, it's not this snow-covered dunghill. Like, what God does in us is a garden. He goes into the depths of the soil of our hearts, and he's planting things.
Mm.
And if we allow him to water that, something beautiful can actually grow from what looks very dark. We talked about this. A seed doesn't make any sense. Why do you shove something in the ground where it's dark and cold and alone? Like, if I was creating the universe, that's how you bury something, you know? Like, you just put it in the ground. But the thought that only someone who is love himself could could actually bring that to life,
Mm.
like, we have to entrust our hearts to him, or yeah, it's despair. That like, those are the 2 options, and I think and we talked about this a lot with Bill, like,
We did.
this isn't just for fun. This is because we are terrified constantly, and we are looking for the people who lived well while being terrified, and this is a prime example. This is
Girl.
the raw truth.
This is it. I'm so scared.
Yes.
I mean, you know this. I'm constantly terrified. We're both very sensitive souls. I think we feel the weight of everything. As Dr. Maple was saying, artists can hold the metaphysical weight of fear, of um, tragedy. We feel it on a level that sometimes I wish I didn't feel it, you know?
Mhm.
And um, something that we were talking about earlier, for context, we're living together now for this next month, so we're just talking all the time. So our episode's gonna be great. But we were having a conversation earlier about how it's easy to distract from this, and I think easy in the faith to distract from this. I'm speaking for myself of like, um, I can swing to 2 sides. On the one hand, I've experienced true injustice, darkness, seen very dark things happen, and think, of course, God is going to come and fix it. Of course. Right now, like if I just pray hard enough, if I just trust enough, and nothing happened, in fact, it got worse.
Mm.
Not because I was praying, but just I was watching it. It reminds me of the line of the Surrender Novena, like you see darkness growing, you see sin growing, and you're completely paralyzed by fear. And so I can jump on the one side when I'm fearful, when I'm seeing real darkness and just be like, well, I just need to pray my way out of this one. That will leave you crushed because Daniel, what if he doesn't, which is the whole story of Israel. And then on the other side, I mean, the other coin of that is despair. And that is when I'm paralyzed by fear. Um, and I mean, this is like a real state of living. Like the despair is not just like I'm a little bit sad and like angry. It is like a soul shattering type of despair.
Mm.
And to find these two, and I think we can say Dr. Maple and Bill are 2 other people that live like this
Mm.
that we've talked about in this podcast. To find Enrico and Chiara and to say they don't go to either extreme.
Mm.
And there's this levity about them while also holding the truth of the experience they're in. And I think it's because of it. I love what you said. I think you didn't even realize you said it, but because of the resurrection. This podcast couldn't happen if it wasn't for the resurrection. If heaven wasn't opened for us, it's game over. What hope have we if he actually hadn't risen from the dead? But we can endure because we will be in heaven, God willing. That's my only hope. And I think you have experienced trials. I think people listening have experienced trials where that becomes your only hope. There's no solution to Chiara being dead. The only hope you can have is God really did come. God really did rise from the dead. Otherwise, this is all sham. And I think we have to face that. We have to really ask ourselves, do we believe he rose from the dead? It hinges on that. Otherwise, what is it? C.S. Lewis, liar, lunatic, or Lord?
Yeah.
He's either a liar, he's either crazy, or he is Lord. And all my eggs in the basket, that no matter what happens, we will be in eternity. I love this one line from Enrico. We could really go on forever. Oh my gosh, this is so painful. Because I feel like we're just getting started, but we're an hour in. I maybe you've heard it. Either of them said it in the book, but we want all things to be eternal, but we have to let the Father make them eternal in his way. This goes back to our first episode. Where did you want things to never end? That is what we want. And the journey of going homeward is when those things end, because everything will end on this side of heaven, to give it to the Father and say, okay, in your way, make it eternal. And to let go, to not possess, which is the journey of my lifetime. And that's why we love them.
Yeah. And this is actually kind of funny because I don't know if you've realized this as well, but this has kind of been our conversation to bring it to a very modern example with Kiki and Sean.
No, you didn't. I'm walking out.
What is
I'm
so
literally standing up.
what is so freeing is yeah, just to name the people who we see this like purity, it's a lack of possession. And that's something that I think there's a level of maturity, but it's also like this is what we want. This is how we want our hearts to look. It's like every person before me is a gift to be loved. There's no I'm not possessing something from them. I don't need something from them. In the same way that God doesn't need something from us. Like it's all gift. And yeah, I think it's just beautiful because when I think about the choice she had, I was there's also like an interview of her speaking about Maria's life and the decision that she was kind of having to make on her own before she could even talk with Enrico about it, because she found out of the diagnosis before. I think it was like he was in surgery or something. There was something to where like she couldn't
You're
talk with
right.
him for like a day or two.
Yeah.
And she talks about how painful that was in the moment for her to decide, I'm gonna carry this baby fully to term, knowing she will not be able to live outside of my body. And I don't actually know what my husband's gonna say about that. Like, how that's such a raw experience, and she recounts it, and she's crying. Like, it's so beautiful, but the moment she's crying is when she said, she tells Enrico, he said, "Of course, like, she is our child. We will do everything we can for her to live as long as she can." And yeah, even just thinking about the beauty in the sacrament of marriage, like, in that moment, them supporting each other in in just giving life as long as they can, and even for him, like, I wonder if there was ever temptation for him, especially oh my gosh, especially when she decided to hold off treatment for Francesco. That would have been when you think about a possessive relationship, and I wonder if really he was ever tempted to say, "No, Kiera, I I wanna live forever, or at least the next, 60 years with you. We're only 20-something years old, and he had to consent to that, and only with open hands. Like, he could have so easily tried to convince her, even
Mhm.
logically, with especially there were so many other people, excuse me, who I'm sure were telling him, "Why are you letting your wife do this?"
I think they were.
Yeah, and for him to be able to say, "I love her with open hands." Sorry, I'm choking over here. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I guess I love that because, I mean, obviously, Kat is the one who's passed, and she had an immense amount of courage. But when you think about Enrico's life, he's lost his 2 children and his wife, and the love of his life. Like, this man was head over heels in love with Chiara, and this was actually a great marker for me in being really free to discern a vocation because I had never seen anybody love, like, their spouse so freely and so fully than Chiara and Enrico. Because sometimes it can be like, he's God's or she's God's, and so they keep him at a distance, but they loved each other, like, fully and plentifully, and they drove each other nuts, and then he held her completely, or, well, the journey was to hold her with hands open. Um, and this part always makes me cry, but the end where she is clearly about to pass. And this, I think, shows everything, that the culmination of Enrico's heart and the suffering that he went through and is going through. But she's about to pass in the next couple hours, and the email that he sends everybody at that moment was, "The lamps are lit. We are waiting on the bridegroom." That total understanding, she is not mine. She is the bridegroom's, and he is in love with the bridegroom. And, like, that mystery of, I can hold then without possession because she was never mine to begin with. She was always a gift to me, and I can be grateful, I think he says this, for the time that I had with her because it was more than I deserved. Which I think makes what you were saying, the grace sounds the same of, okay, like, caring for Francesco's life, which means holding Chiara completely free from my possessiveness, which must have, I don't know, torn him apart. Like, again, we don't wanna make it this pious thing. I mean, it was the cross. You know?
Yeah.
But he says this about her. He says, "She made room for grace." And I think you can say the same about him, you know? But I'm obsessed with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't. I also
No.
moment for Sean Evans, who absolutely, that's what I'd never thought about that until now. That's what moves us all, is he's not trying to possess Keke Palmer. He is literally just
Yeah.
open hands.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up.
Okay, thank you. I was hoping you would love it and that it wasn't gonna totally derail us. But, okay, I've been having this image because this was also conversation we were having earlier, but in the gospel today was the Beatitudes. And
Mm.
that line, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And I'm like, who has open hands but a beggar who is poor?
Mm.
And thinking about what you were saying for Enrico, that yeah, what an entirely different disposition of heart for him versus just, the modern day man to say, I was given more than I deserved. Because we kind of all approach life, and we were literally talking about this, that there's some baseline that I deserve because of X, Y, and Z, of amount of money I should have, or things I should have, or places I should be able to go. And for them, they could have said that I deserved to raise Maria and
Yes.
Davide and, and live this full life with them. But that's not how they viewed it. They and to be able to watch the video of him speaking, and that's the part that was so moving to me, is he says that God has never taken something from me. And I'm like, you out of all people, you're the one person I know who could say, God took everything from me. He's like a modern Job, like God has taken everything from me. He doesn't say that. So it's like if we're gonna look to anyone for how to respond to our own poverty, to things we think we need or the things we think we should have or deserve, it's actually like the way that he responds. I'm like, please God, let me respond with a fraction of that faith that actually you have already given me more than I deserve. God forbid I would ever lose my spouse. He has already given me more time than I have ever deserved with him. Yeah, I'm over here crying. But just thinking about that fact or our families or even our friendship, like this is already far more than I could have ever deserved. And I feel like that's the kind of poverty that is made for the kingdom of heaven. Because like you said earlier, the fulfillment is in God's timing. Like all of these desires, all these longings, all these hopes, they will be fulfilled in heaven. So getting anything here and now, like this is just generosity, you know?
Mm. Hmm.
Is there a soundbite for this? Oh, a weeping maybe?
Where's the drum? Yeah.
They need more options.
Maybe we'll just have record Kiki Palmer being like, "That's your girl." I wonder. Mm, there's so many metaphors that are really helpful in the spiritual life. This does not feel like a metaphor. This is seeing reality. I think that's what's so sobering about them. They didn't live again. I guess I keep harping on the sentimentality because I keep thinking that's what's going to give me strength. That my own sentimentality of the faith is going to strengthen me. That has been crushed. I can say now, thank God, that reality, that truth has to be what saves me. And the truth will set you free.
Mm.
The truth that we have more than we deserve. That is actually a very joyful thing.
And
I
it's
have more
not
than I
messed
deserve.
up. Yeah, like, I feel like there's part of my brain that wants to say, like, "That's" I don't is sadistic the right word? Like, just, like, that's not,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like too
like,
harsh.
yeah, yeah, like, does that, not show our goodness or our dignity? But no. It's like, I think there is, I feel like you would love this. I think this is an orthodoxy, and G.K. Chesterton is talking about, like, you know, we like the joy of Christmas is like, "Oh, this great gift has been given to me. Like, I wanna thank who gave this to me." And he's like, "What about the gift of my legs? Like, who am I gonna thank for that? Like, what about just the gift of reality? Like,
Mm.
does our heart not long to thank someone for that?" And it's kind of exactly what you're saying. Like, yeah, this is all I don't deserve this.
I wonder, do you think if we turn it on I don't deserve this, on us, yeah, that's depressing, like naturally.
Mm.
But if the truth is that we love God because he loved us first and we are actually as humanity good
Mm.
because he made it so, then if we're looking at reality through I didn't deserve this to begin with, I start to see God and I'm like, what a relief. He's amazing. He's really
Yes.
generous.
Yes.
Guys, like, God could be a tyrant. Let's just
Mm.
lay things down here. Islam. Tough luck. God, not a personal God. God is sovereign, but not father.
No.
Even in Judaism, that close relationship of father, not there. Okay, that could be God. God doesn't have to be generous with us. You think
Mhm.
about Hinduism, you get what you give. Reincarnation. That's not very generous.
Mm-mm.
That's entirely just.
Mm-mm.
It could be that way. That could be truth. What else? You think about ancient Greek and Roman gods. It could be that way.
Hmm.
God could be all these ways that are actually very depressing.
Yes.
But God is actually immensely generous. And so when we say we don't deserve this and we turn our eyes like Chiara and Enrico did on the Father, on their Father, it becomes the greatest freaking news you could hear. That God is good. And he doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be. Okay, I have to tell you kind of a funny story. That thought had never crossed the hills of my mind ever until I saw Guardians of the Galaxy, like 2 or 3, I don't know how many there are. And this is a spoiler, but if you haven't seen it yet, I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it. So the whole thing is like Chris Pratt. Okay, can you cut that out? Chris Pratt. I don't remember his name in Guardians of the Galaxy, but the whole like plot is that he has this dad who's really powerful and cool, and like he's grown up thinking that. And the end of the movie is he finds out that his dad, well, I think you know too, his dad like creates this universe and this whole thing. Honestly, I feel so bad. I'm really kind of forgetting the plot. But at the end, you literally find out that and his dad starts like taking his life, like his son's life, and you find out that he's this evil god. And I don't know why the Lord was just using that movie to unlock that idea for me that, oh my gosh, God does not have to be good. Like that, that thought that it's possible, that like God isn't who, I hope he'd be, but he is. And then thinking about that, thinking about what an evil God, how horrifying, or even just a distant God, or a angry God, or a possessive God, what that could look like. That movie gives a good kind of reality check, so check it out. Also not sponsored. But
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. But then you go and read The Prodigal Son. Are you kidding me? That image of the father, and also, I don't know if you're ready for this, our conversation about nobody tells you how to be a daughter. Nobody talks about what that looks like, or a son, but just nobody, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sure somebody is telling you how to do it. But just for us to have that conversation of, what is it for me to be God's child? And I think that living in that reality is the same reality that Chiara was living in. She knew. And isn't there also like maybe a section, or I don't know if it's in the book or quote, whatever. It talks about like she kind of had an idea of herself as royalty. that is something we've also been talking about. And if we touch on it just a little now, we could do more later, but she held herself with the dignity that she had been given by her father. And yeah, like you said, it's not overly pious for us to hold ourselves with that same dignity, and we can do that because we know who God is.
Hmm.
He's good.
It's also tied up for me in entitlement. I think I'm realizing that's the word that keeps in mind. Like, even I'm thinking of my parents, like, I mean, what? I'm not entitled to life. I'm not entitled to any of this. I think I'm an entitled brat.
Join the club.
I think I got some repenting to do.
Oh,
And you think about, oh, man, this could be a whole other episode.
I know.
Maybe that should be the new title of our podcast. This
Okay.
could be a whole other episode.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Yes.
But you think about good kings and queens, slay. I would say maybe a common thread is none of them feel like they're entitled to the throne. The ones that do,
They're
cause
the evil ones.
they're the evil. Oh. All right. Goodbye, everybody. See you later. And scene.
Oof.
Yeah.
Hello.
Wow. Frick.
Let's play Princess Diaries and go.
That's
Me,
crazy.
a princess? Shut up.
Yeah, we're not entitled to any of it, and
No.
we don't stay there. That's the thing. Bringing her back to them. They didn't stay there. Chiara and Enrico did not stay in. Neither did St. Francis, and that we don't deserve any of this. They stayed on the Father. They stayed on the fact that God is good, that God is loving, that God is a Father, that God is my Father. What does Jesus say over and over again in the Gospel of John? My Father, the Father. Hey, everybody, the Father. Jesus' greatest joy, the Father. What was Jesus' heart filled with? The Father. Before he enters his passion in the Gospel of John, what does Jesus say? Let us rise so that the world must know that I love my Father. Jesus completely receives everything from the Father. Maybe, I don't know, that's his greatest joy. And learning to receive that is, again, the journey of a lifetime. Please, God, please pray for us, everybody listening. Thank you so much. So I'm not more of an entitled brat than I already am. But with our eyes locked on God, on the sovereign creator of the universe, who out of joy has given me life, and that because of that, I get to live eternally with him. It almost makes whatever happens in between, I don't care,
Yes.
easier said than done.
Yep. Yep.
Yes, I could probably complain later this afternoon. But that, I mean, I don't care if I deserve it or not. And also, I'm never gonna be able to deserve it, so who
Yeah.
God, he is good.
Mm.
And maybe this is a good way to start landing the plane, but in Chiara's letter, Chiara writes this letter a couple weeks before she passes, for Francesco's birthday, first birthday, and, should we read it? Should we link it? What do you think?
Maybe let's read it.
Maybe let's read it.
Yeah, let's read it.
Okay. I thought you were gonna say link it.
Yeah, well, I think my mind and my mouth were doing different things.
Shall we read it?
Let's read it.
Okay. Again, this is Chiara and Enrico to Francesco, uh, a few weeks before she dies. She says, "My dearest Francesco, you will be 1 year old today, and we were wondering what we could give you that may last over the years. Therefore, we have decided to write you a letter. You have been a godsend because you have helped us to overcome our human limits in our lives. Whenever we received worrying news from the doctors, your fragile life gave us the strength to continue. If there's one thing we have understood during these years is that love is the center of our lives. That's a capital L, love. We are born from an act of love. We live to love and to be loved. And upon our departure, we get to experience God's true love. The purpose of our life is to love and to be ready to love as only God can teach you. Love is like a burning candle that consumes you until the flame burns out only after it has reached its true purpose. Everything you do will make sense only if you act towards eternal life. Only when you truly love will you realize that nothing really belongs to you because everything is a gift. St. Francis says the opposite of love is to possess. We love you as we loved your sister Maria and brother Davide, knowing you didn't belong to us and you weren't created for us, the way it has to be for everything else in life. What you have doesn't belong to you because it is a gift from God so that you can bring it to fruition. Do not ever be disheartened, my dear son. The Lord never takes away from you. If he cuts you short, it is only because he has so much more to give you. Thanks to Maria and Davide, we have fallen in love even more with eternal life, and we no longer fear death. God is taken from us in order to give us a bigger heart, open to welcoming eternity starting from this life. While in Assisi, I fell in love with the joy that the friars and sisters felt believing in God's providence. There, I also asked the Lord the grace to believe in this providence they were talking about, to believe in this Father who gives you everything you need. We put our trust in Father Vito to guide us on this journey. We decided to get married, putting God first, and believing in the love we had to take this big step. We were not disappointed. We always had a roof over our heads and wanted for nothing. You are named Francesco in honor of St. Francis, who had a huge impact on our lives. We truly hope he can be of an example to you. It is nice to have examples of life which remind you that you can ask for happiness. Having God as your guide is a wonderful starting point in this life. We know you are special and you have a great mission. The Lord has chosen you from the beginning of time, and he will show you the way to follow him if you open your heart. Trust in him. Love, Mom Chiara and Dad Enrico. You're not hearing a clench? That's really us just
I
pausing.
was about to say that was some sacred silence. Yeah, I think that perfectly sums up everything.
What do you feel like you're walking away with after this conversation?
Yeah, I think I really needed that. I feel like it solidified a lot of kind of lingering thoughts I had, and maybe disappointments or doubts.
Mm.
I feel like this has, I mean, especially like we talked about at the beginning, this has reminded me what is true. And yeah, it kind of, my final two things, and then I want to hear your final thoughts. It was a talk I saw or something that Father Boniface Hicks was doing, and I thought it was very freeing because kind of started talking about how, and I hope I'm not butchering this, how the most interesting thing in your life is that you are called to be a saint. And kind of like you said, what happens in between there, it's not that it's not important, but it's not the most important thing. Whether you get married or your religious life or God calls you to something else, that's not necessarily the most interesting thing about you. It is that you are loved, and you were made for love, and your whole life is to become an act of love. That's beautiful, and we're all gonna look radically different, but the freedom of knowing the most interesting thing is that we are each invited into the most beautiful adventure of our lives every day. So yeah, that's kind of my final thought. And the very, very last thing is I actually need to shout out Karina. She was the one who was really trying to get me to read the book, and she wanted our book club to read it. And so I was kind of forced to read it. So thank you, Karina. Love you. Your final thoughts, ma'am.
Humbled. I love grasping to what I think is mine and what I know is not mine. I can't be like, I thought that was mine. I know that's not mine.
A toddler.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also reminded of the joy that I experience and the levity. That's the big word, I think, for me after this episode is
Yes.
the levity that we get to walk with when we live like this. And it feels like you're floating,
Yes.
even though there's real sorrow. And we know people, we love people who have experienced tragedies, death, scandal, and everything in between, sickness. In all of that by God's grace, by learning to see reality, the truth of the resurrection, the truth of things not belonging to us. There's that secret, mysterious joy that they talk about, that St. Francis talks about, that, by the way, becomes the way of evangelization. We can finish with this, but in that video we keep talking about that's on bigapplecatholic.com. That's bigapplecatholic.com. Just scroll down, you'll see it. Beautiful Italian man. The interviewer asked him, what can we do to change the world? And Enrico says, that's not my job. That's God's job. All I can do is say yes to his grace. He said, Chiara did nothing. And now look at the fruit of her yes. And he said, a good restaurant, when the food is good, people will come. And I think that's the big thing about them. Extraordinarily, extraordinarily ordinary. Being faithful to the life that they had, and now the world is coming to them. They didn't have this massive evangelization plan, which, you know me, I'm a business girl, I freaking love a plan. But more was done for the world by them saying yes. And I wanna live like that. I don't think I've lived like that a ton. I haven't lived it as much as now in hindsight, I wanna live it back. But going back, I guess, to close it out with what we were saying earlier, I can't imagine having lived my life knowing two things. 1, nothing belongs to me, and 2, everything will make sense if you do it in eternal life. That especially has been my anchor.
Yes.
And so I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for their witness. I'm so grateful for the way that God has placed them in our life. And I wanna live it. I don't know. I feel like a little worm, and I'm like, I wanna be this great, like, I don't know, Bach, and I'm a little worm. I wanna do it because I wanna be happy, you know?
Yes.
So,
If you know what's good, go read the book. This is just a little hint of what you're gonna find. Thank you, thank you. Also, thank you again. I forgot how long this goes.
people love you, Katie.
The people love me. And I love the people. but someone needs to take control back of the board. Last throw out, they were also both artists. You'll learn more about that in the book. We can't even get into that right now. You can feel it though. But just so you know, for all the artists out there.
For all the artists. This is our longest episode yet, but we could go on for a long time. It's not the 5-hour episode we were talking about with Matt Fred. We were talking about earlier how Matt Fred just did a 5-hour episode.
Yeah.
Now I understand why.
Yeah. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Okay, action items. My business girl is kicking in. Action items for you, our friend on the other line. The book, A Witness to Joy.
Yes.
The video on bigapplecatholic.com. 3, I'll link the letter that we read. Do it all.
And 4, please pray for us.
Please pray for us. We want to be Kate Middleton.
And Chiara.
Kiki Palmer. Guys, okay, can we spend... I just chugged water, and so we need to end this in the next 90 seconds. But Katie and I did watch on the projector last night, the Kiki Palmer and Sean Evans. So I just need to talk about it because you brought it up. I love him. That's all I need to say. I think I'm in love with Sean Evans. Let's be real.
This feels like how in our first episode we went to the depths and ended it with Theo Von.
You laugh now.
Okay. I see the gifts that he has. I truly do.
Theo.
Maybe he'll be on.
Anything's possible. God is outrageously generous.
Should we reach out to Sean and Kiki? We gotta dream big.
I just got butterflies in my stomach. Nervous. Could be the water. I don't know.
All the salt
I
you
can't
added.
keep laughing. It hurts. Okay. We have to go for my health. But we love Kiki and Sean. And we love you on the other line.
Truly. Just for 1 second. We would not be doing this if we didn't love the people listening to this.
Yeah.
We really, we're not getting anything for telling you to read this book other than we hope it brings you joy in life and reminds you of who you are and where you're going.
That covers it.
That's right.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody.
Bye, friends.
One more for the vibes. You ready?
Okay.
Bye, everybody.